Coming in from NTAI, we've got double Yamato, double Des Moines, Venezia, Moskva, Gearing, Daring, Shimakaze, 3 DDs, 4 cruisers, all of which have radar, and then 2 big overmatching Yamatos.
Man, the double Yamato, that's some serious oof. Indeed. Over on the other side with QQ7, we've got an Ohio for some brawling, a Yamato for some pointing the nose at something and hurting it anyway. Double Des Moines, double Nevsky, the open water woofster. We've got a Marceau, a Yu Yang, which you don't see a lot of, and a Grozavoy. That's kind of a gangly, strange little group of DDs there.
It is. I'm really interested by the Yu Yang. Like that, I'm excited to see because the Yu Yang is essentially taking the place of the Smalin now that the Smalin has been outlawed. So we'll see how that works over here at the decap, which does have a lot of islands able to use for cover for lack of smoke coming in from that Yu Yang, unless it's a smoke Yu Yang, which I can't really imagine what you do. Looks like from QQ7, the Marceau is going to make a straight line into the center cap. Or he might even be going for A through the inside. We'll have to see what he does there. Grozavoy, Des Moines, Ohio, going to the contested cap at A, while Nevsky, Yu Yang, Yamato going to C.
You know, I almost bet that Yu Yang is a smoke Yu Yang because of the double Nevsky. I can't imagine the Yu Yang's going to be spending his life out on the G line, giving smokes to the Nevsky, but the Yu Yang does have the ability to reposition quickly with the rapid smoke deployment cooldowns. And that would definitely keep those two things safe. I mean, as much as they could open water, do you really want to just be like, hey, shoot me, I'm over here, when you could protect your assets instead? Meanwhile, we do have Triarch in the Marceau looking to make a play over in Bravo with a single daring Hood Best Shipfu from NTAI looking to push into Bravo. Marceau is already turning her out, potentially spotted, and looking not to take the fight.
Yeah, we're going to see here. It's odd to me that Triarch, he sort of fainted like he was going to go to A and then decided to come back center. And now I guess he's just turning around to back in. But it almost seems to me reasonable to expect that they would go ahead and just dive the island, as that island generally can be, can be basically a complete cover for you. And yeah, you were right. That is, in fact, a smoke Yu Yang who is now smoking up the double Nevskys for QQ7. That's a very interesting move. It's. I guess I don't know the Yu Yang well. Were you saying that it's because the Yu Yang has a quick cooldown on its smoke?
Yeah. So Yu Yang, the Pan Asian line pulls a lot of inspiration from the US DDs. However, US destroyers have that nice 2.5 minute long smoke. But the Pan Asians do not. They have like a 1.5 minute smoke with a really rapid deployment cooldown, maybe like a 15-20 second lapse between smokes. So he's going to be able to drop a smoke, and they don't have to sit there for 2.5 minutes. They can sit there for a little over 1 and then reposition and constantly be moving to new positions as they do. And sure enough, those Nevskys having radar pressure over on Charlie is immediately forcing the Shimakaze of Shimeji Simulator right out of that cap, and the Yu Yang is going to go forward, safely taking Charlie probably in about 10 seconds from now. B has fallen over to NTAI, and people still setting up over at A, with Triarch still kind of fielding that middle field position, hasn't committed yet.
Yeah, we're gonna have to see what Triarch does here. I almost wonder if maybe something changed mid deployment for them. Shimeji of NTAI taking a whole bunch of damage there in his attempt to contest the decap. He's definitely not going to have that, as a pair of Nevskys with 12-kilometer radar and a Yu Yang spotting for them is well, that's a lot of very rapid firing, high velocity guns. So he's down to about half now, as it looks like D is going to be easy pickings for QQ7, trying to get back on the board here with a cap, as it looks like the gearing of NTAI actually going to start stepping into A. So we're going to see if QQ7's maybe going to play a little bit of a longer strategy here.
Yeah, we still see the daring of NTAI holding strong cover over Bravo and potentially spotting that Marceau. Nobody really taking shots at Triarch. However, by giving some kind of forward presence, they are at least zoning him from being able to just scoop in and take B while the daring repositions somewhere else. Over at C, Charlie is falling over to QQ7 with the double Nevsky having pushed off the Shima, eaten half of his health, and simply claimed the flank. Looks like the Shima and the Venezia are bailing on Charlie. NTAI giving up the fight there. Unable to find purchase on Alpha just yet, as the gearing of Slartbart Fast is pushed from the cap off of radar from the Des Moines. Another Des Moines being pushed up over on the side. Warped Chaos is moving forward, taking some shots, but Sunk Cost Submarine popping a smoke to try to get him to an island to take a dominant forward position. So far, QQ7 does have Charlie. Looks like they're reversing Triarch in to get Bravo, and if this Des Moines is allowed to get into that F1 island, I think they're going to be able to lock down Alpha, and that's just going to be a cap contest. I don't see how NTAI is going to be able to do much more than contest B for a little bit.
Shots coming in from the Yamato. Is he going to get Warped Chaos? No, the big shells of the Yamato not finding their mark on that Des Moines, which means that about half health, the Des Moines of Warped Chaos is going to take that island, which is going to be, I think, pretty crucial for QQ7 to actually contest the A cap here. As you said, it was a minute ago, Triarch of QQ7's Marceau, he's actually now into the B cap. He's going to get radared here by that Moskva. He very well might just be here the entire game, sort of, I guess just sort of baiting radar and baiting shots, which the Marceau is very, very capable of doing. As the QQ7 Nevskis from C have decided basically there's nothing left over here to contest us. We're going to redeploy. So we'll see if now the Shimeji's Shimakaze from NTAI decides, hey, they're leaving C, I'm going to go back, but has not done so yet as Torps leave the Grozavoy heading for the gearing in Des Moines at A.
Yeah, Shimmy the Shima jumps Torps into Bravo, and the Marceau does back off, Triarch having lost about a third of his health. And we do see those Nevskis and Yu Yangs bailing off of C, as there's nothing there to contest them. Surprisingly enough, if somebody had rotated even to pressure the reverse side of Charlie, one of those or maybe both of those Nevskis would be forced to remain. However, by completely bailing on Charlie, NTAI has allowed QQ7 to pull its resources and pool it into middle, where B is the most hotly contested cap at the moment. However, A, as much as QQ7 seems to have locked this down, even as real EULA Simp is taking some shots, I don't see, with the amount of radar going on, that this cap changes hands either way. So every time B gets stopped and C is allowed to continue gaining points, QQ7 comes out further ahead.
Yep, and lots of excitingness, wow, going on here as, yes, indeed, real EULA Simp diving for the middle island here, as Triarch's Marceau also diving for the B island. Lots and lots of shots going on now that Triarch exposed himself. He's made it, though, and the question remains, will the daring and the Shimakaze of NTAI be able to sort of wiggle him out, I suppose? I don't know that they will be, as real EULA Simp needs to get dark real fast. He may just be going around the corner. He's just going to try and, I think he's going to try and take the ram on Warped Chaos, but I don't believe he's going to make it. The Grozavoy and Ohio are going to put an end to him real quick here.
Yeah,
Bonk, there it goes. Nope, did not get it.
The desperation play does not work out. NTAI is unable to dislodge Alpha, which basically means with the double Des Moines radars and the Des Moines not being dead, no way in hell A is going to fall to NTAI anytime soon. Meanwhile, over in mid, Triarch, embracing the joys of teenagers everywhere, is able to expose himself publicly and somehow get away with it with over half of his health. Nope, just under half of his health. So he did actually make it, and not only that, he got to grab the B from away from NTAI, and looking to trade some shots, but still firmly ensconced behind the island and safe at the moment. Although Shimmy the Shima is taking some shots, and some of those shots are actually connecting as he's trying to run over to Alpha. Meanwhile, getting farmed by Warped Chaos in the Des Moines, who is only going to greet him with a radar and death.
Indeed, and down goes Shimeji Simulator here in just a moment. Down he goes. I really do have to question why it is that NTAI decided to completely abandon D. There was no attempt to keep anything honest over there by, keep the Shimakaze up here on the E9 island and then back in whenever you want, bait the radar, and force one or two of those Nevskis, and definitely also that Yu Yang, which has already made it all the way over to A. Keep them honest, basically keep them there, because now QQ7 is able to take an already two-ship advantage and just pressure that more, which resulted in the Shimakaze of Shimeji's Shimakazes from NTAI dying, and down goes the daring of Hood Best Ship Fu. This is going to be a very, very large hill for NTAI to climb up if they want to try and come back and win this, which does not look likely, as they're sitting on 0 caps, fewer ships, and already a 400-point deficit, and QQ7's Yamato and Nevsky on the east side already coming around to wrap up.
Yeah, that daring trying to make the B, attempting to counter the dug-in position of Triarch, ended up finding himself charging into the embracing arms of Lowski and the Nevsky and properly getting dunked for it. So down goes the daring, Marceau being able to hold, Nevsky pushing forward with the Yamato without any guns being able to be spotted on this. Nevsky, I believe, has torps, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but if he swaps over the island, that could go poorly for them as NTAI continues to lose ships. Bleeding ships now at A, further claiming this over to QQ7, and with the now both radars dead at Alpha, the Grozovoy of sunk cost submarine able to move forward and start capping, although he is taking damage in return.
It's absolutely right. And, well, what we're going to have to see here in just a moment is, well, quite frankly, does NTAI have any chance of coming back against this? 4 ships down, 600 points? I'm going to say no. I'm going to say this is firmly in QQ7's hands at the moment. You know, what's interesting is that I thought NTAI had a pretty good, I want to say they had a pretty good opening position. They, you know, they were weak at D. The double Nevsky of QQ7 with a Yu Yang smoking them was very, very powerful combination, but it wasn't something that couldn't be overcome. Nevsky is very, very weak to battleships. You know, some good shells from NTAI's Yamato, played by Just Dodge over there, could have been a game changer as soon as the smoke went down. I think they sort of gave up on C a little too fast. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. As soon as they rotated off of C, initially they had 2 players on C. QQ7 had 3. But what happens if they just kept 2 players over on Charlie waiting for the back cap? Well, then QQ7 can't move their 3 back to assist in the rest of the map. So they've already automatically crowd controlled 1 more player than what they've invested. As long as Shimi the Shima doesn't get nailed by radar, then assuming that way they can just keep back there, continue holding threat. They might have to fall back, but they force QQ7 to take the flank, which eventually they did anyway, as Lowski and the Yamato of guy whose name is hidden by Lowski as moving forward into the E7 line. But the loss of multiple ships over at the A and the B situation really just have not worked out. I don't think anything short of a spirit bomb is going to save this, but with Rosino going down, that pretty much locks it. We've got 10 seconds left in the game. Much congratulations to QQ7. Unfortunate that NTAI bailed on C, but even over at the Alpha and Bravo, the positions of QQ7 did win the day.
That's right. So we're going to have to see, we're going to have to go ahead and see what, well, frankly, what NTAI does differently in the next match. So first game going to QQ7. The next match is going to be played on North. So let's go ahead, and they have to switch sides as well. So let's go ahead and because you and I need to swap it in the thing as well, right?
Yes, we have to change it around in our little tool thing.
So QQ7 goes there, NTAI goes here, 0, 1. Okay, so there we go. Now it's swapped. Next map is going to be North. North is obviously a map where things tend to be played a little closer together. DDs can sort of make it between the caps a little easier, as everything's just sort of like, if you take Northern Waters and you sort of squish it inwards, it starts to look like North. What do you think? Do you think NTAI's going to change it up and try to do maybe 2 DDs instead, or are they going to keep with 3?
I mean, I'm going to be honest. I personally think that it's always nice to have a little addition of health and a little addition of gunpowder in terms of having that 1 additional cruiser that you don't get if you bring the 3 destroyers. But having a little extra damage, a little extra health, when your destroyers go down, you don't have a way in. You're stuck. That's the point where you just hit the YOLO button and you pray that it's somehow going to work out in your favor. So as much as it's nice to have that additional health, the additional damage to be able to reach for, maybe even the additional consumables, if you look at it in terms of like radar cruisers or something, having that 3rd destroyer, it can lead to so much pressure, especially if you've got 3 destroyers and they only have 2. Your maneuver, or your ability to just redeploy, maneuver across the map, and threaten territory is so great that it forces the higher amount of cruisers. They have to figure out a way to make a play to kill a DD, or they have to have so much overlapped radar to be able to lock down multiple caps just to keep the DD menace at bay. Otherwise, you threaten being overrun, and that's no fun.
Yeah, I completely agree with your assertion there. I think that I think that NTAI made a big mistake by just giving up on the CCAP. If for no other reason than just because it allows, it allows the QQ7 Nevskys and DD to refocus on areas where they are weak, and that's I think that's a real big problem. So
I mean, yeah, like the two Nevskys able to move forward and go over to Bravo and Alpha and just have their 12-kilometer, not terrible duration radar.
Yeah,
I mean, you just threw two more radars off onto the other two caps that you don't own. How in the world are you going to be able to claim this? Like, you've got to spread out the enemy. You got to spread out the consumables to even have a hope of a chance of doing it. And yet still there were two radars over QQ7 had on Alpha, two radars over at Charlie, and frankly, when you bail on C, then you just put the two radars on Bravo, and then you absolutely have no way in.
Right. So I think something to note, again, like I was saying on North, is that if you do move a DD into another cap, it's not debilitating to then rotate it back. Like, I feel like Northern Waters, the distance at times to get from cap to cap for a DD is much more debilitating than it is on North. So I think Crash Zone Alpha is another example of it's difficult to get a DD from one side to another. So we'll see if on North maybe NTAI's more free roaming DDs, I suppose, are, well, a benefit or a hindrance. Looks like they're almost ready here.
Yeah, I do see how everybody's readied up, but specifically on North, you've basically dedicated one destroyer to the Charlie cap, because that's going to be the designated, I'm going to step in the cap, I'm going to slow it down, they're going to shoot me, I'm going to run away. C is just, it's going to have a dedicated destroyer doing a whole bunch of nothing other than dealing with C. Alpha, right. Same thing. You're going to have basically the same issue, except instead of having islands, you're going to have a whole bunch of open water, and somebody's going to need a destroyer to spot. It's just how it's going to be. So the real question is, if you have that third destroyer, I've seen multiple teams, if they try to go for that additional cruiser, they ram the cruiser home on an island somewhere near Bravo on the attempt that they're going to be able to fire off a radar and stop the enemy DD from just taking B for free and then bailing off to the side. And if that doesn't happen, or I think we actually saw there was one cruiser that while coming in to maybe get the radar going, I think we saw this last weekend, that just got nailed while trying to get in position to provide that radar, and it was just miserable after that. I think it was a Nevsky and he just had to run right away.
Right. Well, we'll just have to see. I mean, I've seen a lot of folks take a very interesting strategy of putting a radar cruiser like a Moskva, sort of nose in on the eastern side of the B cap. It basically completely prevents the B cap from being taken, and they just say, screw it, we're going to put a cruiser here. It's going to stay here. It's going to be dark whenever it's not needed, but it's going to completely allow the other DDs to do something else, I suppose.
Absolutely. I mean, if you've got a 12-kilometer radar that's functionally between Bravo and Charlie, well, then you've got a radar that covers two caps. I mean, hey, that's excellent. You might not be in the best gun positions, but at the same time, taking that position can be used in sort of a crossfire concept, or at least to block forward pushing, which is of a measurable value, especially on this map. As soon as A gets taken, then the enemy team can start to wrap, and you get into a really awkward crossfire situation. The same thing happens over at Charlie when ships are pushed on the 9-10 line. You have the option of just using the 9-10 line win to force the take of C, or if you're just not contested, you have the option of running down that 9-10 line and wrapping, and then being able to start broadsiding and crossfiring and ripping people apart, especially if you've got a nice bow in tanky ass cruiser sitting between Bravo and Charlie that can swing out and dominate.
You're ready, right, Oscons?
Absolutely.
Okay, there we go. We're starting.
I'm always ready. I'm talking too much like I'm ready. Yeah.
Okay, so here we go. Moving on to, here we go, North. Okay. Okay, sorry for the delay there. Let's look at, first let's look at the lineup of QQ7 as what just happened. Whoa, my computer just had a brain aneurysm. Whoa. Okay. So let's see here. Coming in from QQ7, we've got Montana, Ohio. We've got Des Moines. We have Moskva, Nevsky, Marso, Yu Yang. This is that 2DD comp that I was just talking about. I think we're going to see I think we're going to see the Moskva hang out here just above B on the east side. Going to sit there, and it's going to basically prevent any DDs from taking B. What's it look like over on the NTAI side?
Once again, they're doubling up on the Mighty Yamato, which is cool. Basically, you just park that thing and you start ripping into people. But definitely not a brawler, definitely not a big redeploy kind of asset. Then we've got a Des Moines, we've got a Moskva, a Nevsky, a Venezia, all kinds of diversity coming out here, and then much more traditional DDs with the Gearing, Daring, and Shimakaze, time-tested favorites.
Absolutely. Hood Best Ship Fu, the Daring for NTAI, going to go ahead and contest the B cap. Now the question is, how exactly is QQ7 going to prevent B cap from being arbitrarily taken with only 2 DDs? I don't see the Moskva's being smoked all the way up to that. Okay, so he's taking the Western Island. That's very interesting. I wonder if I was expecting him to take this here for my watches, this island just east of B, northeast of B, but instead it looks like he's going to be taking the northwest island from B. That's very interesting. I don't know if that's... I feel like he's more exposed there. I could be wrong, but what do you think?
I mean, potentially, the way you've got a Yamato going out for NTAI might attempt to be able to drop shells over these cliffs, but the cliffs are pretty decent as long as he's in a good position. That means that the Moskva is going to be able to radar Bravo, and they can watch the Daring of Hood Best Ship Fu take Bravo because there ain't anything they can do about it. However, that Moskva over on the E5 island as opposed to the E6 island is going to be able to have angles down into G2, G3, G4, the H line, the stuff south of A. They're going to have that double Nevsky north of A that the Yu Yang's going to be able to drop smoke lines for, that are going to start that whole radar pressure stuff that we already saw. And rather than bringing double Nevsky, we've got NTAI with a Shimakaze for spotting advantage, although the Yu Yang's no slouch in the spotting department, a Nevsky and a Venezia. So that's 1 radar to 2. It's going to be really rough for this Shimakaze to make plays if that smoke comes back up and those Nevskys can get into position.
Certainly. So taking a look at the C-cap here, C-cap already taken by QQ7 as that Marceau did a very, very speedy jump into C-cap. Oftentimes you'll see them go around the backside, but Sunk Cost Submarine deciding to be a hero and taking it from the front, not a euphemism, just reality, and then scooting his way out with torpedoes behind as Slarty Bartfast E2 of NTAI sort of wondering, what in the hell do I do now? Hopefully he figures out that, yes, he can just directly back up into C and essentially take it for free now, as though QQ7 took it quickly, it's going to be difficult to get it back. Looking at B here, Hood Best Ship Fu, getting reset again in B after the Moskva very correctly radaring, Captain Vermicelli radaring that Gehring, and lighting him up so the Montana could reset him, but not always a sure thing, a Montana being able to reset a DD. So looks like Hood Best Ship Fu going to get B cap here relatively soon. He's way into the cap zone. That's interesting, as the Nevsky of Baltimore Best Ship Fu down here taking lots and lots of damage as he's not getting smoke from the Shimakaze of Shimeji. Shimakaze of Shimeji. Yeesh.
Yeah, shimmy the shimma.
Right, shimmy the shimmy.
Captain Vermicelli does have his Hydro going, at least from what I just saw. And sure enough, the Daring backed up just long enough to get Hydroed and go, yeah, nah. But he took B for free, and out he goes. So NTAI is on the board with the cap, already contesting QQ7's acquisition of Charlie, as the Marceau has gone wide. And looks like QQ7's going to go for the longer-term strategy of trying to take that 9-10 line and be able to use that to lock down Charlie and potentially threaten the crossfire. For instance, Long Island Best Ship Fu and the Moskva over in that G7 island, if those Des Moines are able to round the corner on him, that's going to be a whole bunch of ouch. And the only thing stopping those double Des Moines plus Marceau is a single Des Moines in real EULA Simp, who probably is not going to be able to withstand that withering fire. Over on the other side, Alpha goes to Polsky, and what's going on over there?
Well, I was going to point out, you're absolutely right about the Des Moines disparity over here on the east side, over on the 9-10 line. 1 Des Moines from NTAI holding up 3 ships, 2 Des Moines and 1 Marceau of QQ7. However, as soon as QQ7 realizes the complete unbalanced setup over here, I think they're going to just go ahead and rush that Marceau. Like, Sunk Cost Submarine right now could, in fact, rush his ass down here to the east of this Des Moines and just completely take him out. But real Eula Simp now making a gamer turn in front of Triarch's Des Moines. We'll see if he gets punished for that. Here comes the AP. Looks like, yeah, he is going to get hit pretty hard. Yep. Des Moines taking a little chunk out there. Now it's 3-on-1 as over there, over at the A cap, Nevsky, Baltimore, best ship food taking a deep water tort from the Yu Yang. That hurts. Looks like we may have missed Osconce there. Osconce, if you're...
Mr. Simp has decided to leave the building. He did complete his game return, getting the heck out. Both of the Des Moines are still nose in on the 910 line, although strangely enough, they've decided to bunker up on islands, even though there is no resistance below them. Maybe they have not, or have yet to see the Moskva of Long Island best ship Fu, or perhaps they're worried that he's taken a different aggressive position. They know the gearing's in Charlie because he just took it. Still, NTAI 2 caps to 1. A is not going to fall NTAI's way anytime soon with the double Nevsky, although it looks like Requiem is bailing on A, as they seem to have a dominant enough position with the Montana and Nevsky, farming down the enemy Nevsky of Baltimore best ship Fu. Not sure how much longer he's going to be lasting as Shimmy the Shima is running.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and throw it out there and say that NTAI has missed a major opportunity, which was using the Shimakaze to smoke up their Nevsky. You know, we saw that happen. We saw QQ7 do that last time, and then I think we saw the Yu Yang of, well, I think he smoked the Moskva, and down goes the first ship, First Blood going to QQ7, taking out Baltimore best ship Fu of NTAI. And it looks to me like ACAP is now firmly in the hands of QQ7. They're pushing the Shimakaze completely out of the way as Polsky's Yu Yang just pushing forward. Torpedoes coming in on the Montana. He may eat 2? No, just 1. Very good dodge there by Christopher from QQ7 coming in. Looks like to me as though NTAI's DDs are trying to reposition to dig out some of these cruisers, but unfortunately missing those trades and losing those trades, it's allowed QQ7 to take a firm advantage here, and it's only a matter of time before QQ7 does in fact march their Des Moines down here on the east side and start to push the Des Moines of NTAI, real Eula Semp, even further and further away. It is interesting to me that Sunk Cost Submarine has not attempted to take back the cap yet. There's really nothing to stop him.
Well, there's the Moskva that's got the ability to radar and the ability to detect. Plus, they don't know that the gearing is redeployed as of yet. Slart Bart fast, going down on the 9 line as opposed to the as opposed to staying on the C cap. Is a little surprising to see Sunk Cost Submarine bailing, but Double Des Moines do have radar. They should have an entry vector. Big eyes are over at Alpha with the Montana of Christopher something. Christopher, I don't know.
Ailson? Christopher Ailson.
That guy. Christopher's Montana. Moving forward as Lowski actually turns out after taking a bit of a chunk. The other Nevsky, surprisingly enough, has moved over to Bravo, potentially to farm Just Dodge. Just Dodge's Ramato. I'm not exactly sure as to why that's the linchpin, but we do see Sunk Cost Submarine looking to charge Bravo, which is currently not spotted unless the daring of Hood Best Ship Fu pushes up.
Yeah, I took a look at the who can see what at the moment. Just Dodge's Yamato is the only ship able to be seen by QQ7, so he's, needless to say, he's the magnet coming in. Yeah, only a few ships able to be seen by. Yeah, there we go. Sorry, guys, got to get that all teams. There we go. Okay, ships coming back online there. Now we can see everything. Yeah, the real thing is that NTAI's just been pushed back and farther and farther. If you take a special look according to the mini map here, you'll start to see a horseshoe forming. Now, this is basically, I mean, the really cool thing about it is the horseshoe, sort of the flanking surrounding maneuver. It in any kind of like strategic conflict, whether you're talking real life war, you know, tanks and soldiers on the ground and whatnot, generally speaking, that's the way that I guess a rout begins, is where the opposing team that's losing tends to sort of condense into a smaller and smaller ball as they close the distance between one another. And then the rest of the opponent sort of spreads out to get as many good flanking shots as possible on the opponents. And that's exactly what's happening here as QQ7 takes the second cap. They take B. The point drain is now firmly in their favor. Only a matter of time until they find a way to take C here as they start wrapping up NTAI on the west side.
Yeah, there's just too many shells to just dodge, and that Yamato is certainly losing a lot of health, already down to 8k and looks to be burning. Don't expect him to be around too much further. The Montana of Christopher over on the QQ7 side did actually eat a torp as well as a bit of a broadside and ended up getting chunked for a good almost half of his health. He's starting to recover soon, but the Yamato does go down. That's going to be down 2 ships over on the NTAI side. That's a little rough. I am actually surprised that QQ7's Des Moines, double Des Moines over on that 910 line, have continued to just stay locked in on that rock, not wanting to give any purchase, and yet not even attempting to threaten Charlie. They've bolstered down that side to prevent any kind of wrapping maneuver, and yet they have not actually used that influence to try to get points. But with the movement of sunk cost submarines Marceau and being able to grab Charlie for basically free, the points have swung over into QQ7's favor, both with the kills and now with the 2 caps to 1. QQ7 looking the favorite.
Absolutely, and I'm kind of curious to myself as to why the 2 Des Moines have not pushed up. I have a feeling as though a caller on the QQ7 side sort of went, look, we've got A in the bag. We're about to take B because sunk cost submarine redeployed, and we know that the Daring is no longer in B. So I'm guessing they sort of just said, let's not risk our gains. You know, let's not take any unnecessary risks here. We're already up a game. We need to just win this one. There's no reason to risk it. So it could just be that, and it apparently is. You know, it has not worked out for them, as A is never going to be retaken. And B's now got 4 guys sitting around it. So I have a feeling they just made a conservative call and sort of said, we don't need to push, don't risk the 2 Des Moines when there's a Yamato in relatively close striking distances. That Yamato now saying, I have to be a hero for this to be a win for us. And Ruzinho is, I guess, trying to take on Polarberg here. That could be a pretty spicy ending to this game here if we see a Yamato and an Ohio go nose to nose. Absolutely.
Also, Long Island Best Shipfu is pushing up in the Moskva, potentially showing a lot of side over to Christopher's Montana. However, I think he's going to get behind that island. Surprisingly enough, if the Moskva and Yamato simply join their forces, they're both going to be in the same square, and they're both going to be bow in regardless. So Yamato's moving forward to scare cruisers around, making them play Ring Around the Rosie in terms of islands and stuff, while they shoot at the Simp that has too much health to die, so nothing much going to happen there. Real question is if the Yamato's going to be able to wrecking ball some people in the next minute and 35 seconds, because that's how long it is until they lose this game off the 2 cap point game.
Yep, 1 minute 30 seconds until we end with a QQ7 victory and a QQ7 advance to the next part of group stage 1. Will the Yamato of Ruzinho be able to get up here and strong arm something in time? I don't think so. I think Polarberg very wisely moving off, just saying, nope, I don't want anything to do with 18-inch guns. As Real Eula's Simp about to go down over here. Does he go down? No, not to that crossfire, but will die to the Des Moines here shortly as he is on fire. I believe that's going to put QQ7 down he goes. 25 seconds remaining until this game is over. I think it's safe to say this one goes to QQ7 and they advance.
Yeah, unfortunate that Mr. Simp decided to push his gains. He could have just not stopped shooting and gone dark, but he decided to donate some points and finish the match a little faster and potentially get us a 3rd game if there's another thing that's not being cast that needs somebody. But in terms of that game, that was some pretty solid stuff.
That was some pretty solid stuff. Congratulations to both. Those were interesting. Those were pretty solid games overall, and congratulations to QQ7 for moving on. Well played to NTAI. Also, Just Dodge, who is filling in for NTAI there. I hope you got your exams done. Spoke to him the other day. Apparently, there was a whole bunch of folks who, I guess, folks on the younger end who are in high school or college right now, all have their, they have their finals and their exams this week. So, this week and last week. So, hope he got his done there.